Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's afternoon devotional and Bible study for February 17th, 2021. So sorry that this is coming to you late. I had a meeting in the morning and then I had a phone call that brought me through this time, and then I had to do something else. And I kind of, because I haven't been doing this all week, I kind of forgot about it because I took last week off, and then I got home, sat down, started to sip a coffee, and I was like, I'm missing something today. Oh, shoot, the devotional. I haven't spent my time with you guys online reading my Bible, reading our Bibles together. So I am very sorry for that. So it is a little bit later than normal, but I thank you for your forgiveness. And yeah, we're going to get started with Jesus is Calling for today before we jump into perhaps one of my favorite parts of David's story in 1 Samuel chapter 22. But to get things started, let's jump into Jesus is Calling for today, February 17th. I am the risen one who shines upon you always. You worship a living deity, not some idolatrous man-made image. Your relationship with me is meant to be vibrant and challenging as I invade more and more areas of your life. Do not fear change, for I am making you a new creation, with old things passing away and new things continually on the horizon. When you cling to the old ways and sameness, you resist my work within you. I want you to embrace all that I am doing in your life, finding your security in me alone. It is easy to make an idol out of routine, finding security within the boundaries you build around your life. Although each day contains 24 hours, every single one presents a unique set of circumstances. Don't try to force fit today into yesterday's mold. Instead, ask me to open your eyes so you can find all I have prepared for you in this precious day of life. And that was inspired by two different sections of the Bible. The first, the angel said to the woman, "Do not be afraid, for I know that you are looking for Jesus, who was crucified. He is not here. He has risen, just as he said. Come and see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples, he has risen from the dead and is going ahead of you into Galilee. There you will see him. Now I have told you." Matthew 28, 5-7. And then lastly, therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old one is gone, and the new one has come. 2 Corinthians 5:17. That idea of we might build barriers and boundaries around us, but to not, that God's works even outside of those. It's a nice reminder. Okay. I feel like I'm rushing. It's not just because it's my third cup of coffee. All right. So now we're going to open up our Bibles to the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 22. And yeah, this is up there with one of my favorite sections. And I'm just looking at the titles, and obviously, I think I've forgotten about the second part of this, but the first part of this is pretty important. So, really quick, what we read yesterday is that Saul was angry and was going to kill David. David's been running, and he's acting like a madman in this other king's kingdom because just so that like he can stay there and be kind of protected by this other king. And that's kind of where we ended, where King Ashish of Gath was like, why am I having this madman here as my guest? Like, what is this? But David is desperate and he's trying just to fit in and to be protected. And that's where our story is going to continue. So, 1 Samuel chapter 22. David at the cave of Adullam. So, David left Gath and escaped into the cave of Adullam. Soon his brothers, all his other relatives, joined him there. Then others began coming, men who were in trouble or in debt, or who were just discounted, until David was the captain of about 400 men. Later, David went to Mezep in Moab, where he asked the king, "Please allow my father and mother to live here with you until I know what God is going to do for me." So David's parents stayed in Moab with the king during their entire time David was living in his stronghold. One day, the prophet Gad told David, "Leave the stronghold and return to the land of Judah." So David went to the forest of Herth. The news of his arrival in Judah soon reached Saul. At that time, the king was sitting... Sorry, I don't know what happened there. So I'm going to continue from verse 6. The news arrived to Judah, soon reached Saul. At that time, the king was sitting beneath the tamarisk tree in the hill of Gibeah, holding his spear and surrounded by his officers. "Listen here, you men of Benjamin," Saul shouted to his officers when he heard the news. "Has that son of Jesse promised every one of you fields and vineyards? Has he promised to make you all generals and captains in his army? Is that why you have conspired against me? For not one of you told me when my own son made a solemn pact with the son of Jesse. You're not even sorry for me. Think of it, my own son, encouraging him to kill me, as he is trying to do this very day." Then Doeg the Amorite, who was standing there with Saul's men, spoke up. "When was I at Nob?" he said. When I was at Nob, he said, "I saw the son of Jesse talking to a priest, Amalek, son of Ahitub. Amalek consulted the Lord for him. Then he gave him food and the sword of Goliath, the Philistine. King Saul immediately sent for Amalek and all his family who served the priests at Nob. When they arrived, Saul shouted at him, 'Listen to me, you son of Ahitub!' 'What is it, my king?' Amalek said. 'Why have you and the son of Jesse conspired against me?' Saul demanded. 'Why did you give him food and sword? Why have you consulted God for him? Why have you encouraged him to kill me? He is trying to do this very day.' 'But sir,' Amalek replied, 'is anyone among all your servants as faithful as David, your son-in-law? Why, he is a captain of your bodyguard and a highly honored member of your household. This was certainly not the first time I consulted God for him. May the king not accuse me and my family in this matter, for I knew nothing at all of a plot against you.' 'You will surely die, Amalek, along with your entire family,' the king shouted. And he ordered his bodyguards, 'Kill these priests of the Lord, for they are allies and conspirators with David. They knew he was running away from me, but they didn't tell me. But Saul's men refused to kill the Lord's priests. Then the king said to Doeg, "You do it." So Doeg and the Emirate turned on them and killed them that day. 85 priests in all, still wearing their priestly garb. Then he went to Nob, the town of the priests, and killed the priests' families, men and women, children and babies, and all the cattle, donkeys, and sheep and goats. The Abareth, one of the sons of Almanach, escaped and fled to David. When he told David that Saul had killed the priests of the Lord, David exclaimed, "I knew it! When I saw Doeg the Emirate there that day, I knew he was sure to tell Saul. Now I have caused the death of all your father's family. Stay here with me, and don't be afraid. I will protect you with my own life. For the same person wants to kill us both." May God add a blessing to the reading of his word. Okay, so this wasn't the section that I thought it was. The cave section with David and Saul when they have an interaction is one of my favorites. And just because I saw cave in the title of this section, I thought that's what it was. But 1 Samuel 22:2, then others began coming, men who were in trouble or debt or who were just discounted, until David was the captain of about 400 men. Here, David's followers are described as the dregs of society, people who are in trouble and in debt and discounted. Jesus later says these people describe his own followers in similar. Jesus later says people described his own followers in these ways. Luke 7:34. So might as well check that out. Matthew, Mark, Luke. And I said 7:34. So that reads, Luke 7:34 reads, when the herdsmen saw it, they fled to a nearby town and surrounded countryside, spreading the good news as they ran. Wait, no, that's Luke 8. Sorry. It's like, that doesn't sound right. Live video, isn't it so exciting? 34. The Son of Man, on the other hand, feasts and drinks, and you say he's a glutton and a drunkard, and a friend of tax collectors and sinners. So it's just like this talking down and degrading of other human beings, defining them by a characteristic that they don't like. And we have a tendency to do that. Like, I don't like that person because they're, whatever, in our politically charged climate. It's like, oh, they're a Trumper. Oh, they're a never Trumper. I don't like them. God can't be with them. And Jesus is like, yeah, if there's someone that you look down on, there's a good chance that there's a follower of Jesus who is going to fit that description. The dregs of society, the ones that are in trouble, in debt, and discounted. Jesus loves to identify with those that are looked down on in our society around us. And today, I was having a conversation with someone, and part of identity for a lot of times, like when I was growing up and when I started with YFC, a lot of the times when we were growing up, the question that most teenagers asked is like, who am I? Who am I really? What's my identity? And with this new internet age, and especially with the coming pandemic, one of the questions that are asked is less, who am I really? And who does society say I am to be? The question has turned from an inward introspection to, okay, all these sources are telling me that I have to be this way. Whether it's like airbrush pictures of supermodels or whatever, things that we had back then and were pressures on us for needing to improve. But it's just, instead of that being like, who am I? And trying to find our identity in a lot of those things, it's like, who am I supposed to be? Has now superseded it. And it's so easy when we look at, especially with those outside sources, Who are we supposed to be that we can feel like that dredge of society? We can feel like we don't belong, that we don't have enough, that we don't have this, that I'm not skinny enough, my skin isn't pure enough, my teeth are all like bucked. I realized that sounded weird with how I had my lips because I have buck teeth. Like there's different ways, like I don't dress cool enough, this, that, or the other. And those pressures that can come on us, especially when we're trying to find our identity, not with what our identity is, not with outside sources, not with like even from God, but when we're relying on the Instagram posts and the online sources, which are selected realities, it's easy to feel like you don't measure up and that you're not good enough and that you'll never be good enough because these things aren't reality. So when Jesus identifies with the dregs of society, when society looks at you and you feel like society is looking at you and saying that you're not good enough, Jesus is saying, you are good enough. I identify with you. You are the type of person that I'm after. Someone that knows that, yeah, you might not measure up. I can work with clay that needs sculpting. But if you think you're already perfect, there's not a whole lot that I can do with you. But if you're willing to be sculpted, I'm the sculptor, baby. That sounded weird. It sounded cool in my head. Sounded awkward coming out of my mouth. Welcome to live video. And yeah, I think that's the big takeaway that I'm getting from the Bible reading today. And a little bit of anticipation. I'm just so excited to get to this part with David and Saul meeting in the cave that I'm like, yeah, this is it. I totally forgot about everything else, so I was wrong. Patience and expectations is a lesson that I'm getting out of today as a life lesson, practical life lesson. So anyways, let me pray and let you guys get on with your Wednesday. We'll be doing some Jackbox later on tonight, so thank you guys very much. Yeah, let me pray. AJC, awesome Jesus Christ. I thank you that even all the way back here with David, the man after God's own soul, after your own heart, that people are running, the dregs of society are running to David for shelter and for protection, as we are to run to you for shelter and protection. That you're willing to mold us when we know that we're not perfect, when we know that we might be slightly hypocritical, and that you're willing to step down into our lives and identify with us, to help us, to call us your own. Lord, the idea of who we are is so easily lost in the shuffle of who others expect us to be, especially what strangers expect us to be, and we give them that power. But Lord, help us to give that inside influence to you. You value us more than anyone else ever could. You know what's best for us better than anyone else ever could. And you love us not for what necessarily we can give to you, but what you can give to us. Let us tap into that. Thank you that we are the drudges of society. Thank you for stepping into our mess and loving us and lifting us out. Lord, you are awesome. And as we anticipate things, I pray that we don't jump the gun. As I was like, yeah, this is my favorite section of the Bible. This isn't it at all. That we can learn to manage expectations and that we don't get so excited and disappointed when we make these predictions and they fall short. Lord, may we move in step with you and not run too far ahead or fall too far behind. When we need to rest, help us to know when to rest. When you want us to move, help us to know when to move. You're awesome, Lord. Thank you. All right. Thank you guys for joining. Sorry so much once again for this coming on so late. You guys are awesome. Have a fantastic day. Later.